lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio.
And here's your host, Miss Kim Robinson.
Blessing men and women of God. This your main man, Minister David Benton, CEO and founder of Beyond the Fence Entertainment. We want to welcome you to the Elation Honors Pre-Gala Concert. Yes, Elation Honors Pre-Gala Concert, November 15th at 9 p.m., 870 Eagle Road, Brentwood, Missouri. Be there because God is going to show up and show out.
Go, grace and peace, my friends. This is your radio friend. This is your brother, Pastor G.M. Primm. We're coming to you live on the road. We're multitasking. Just finished with ministry here on the island, and we're heading in. So we pray that you'll be praying for our safe journeys home. We're still here on Long Island, but we're having to do what we needed to do in order for the sake of ministry. And so we're just grateful to all of you that have been sharing with us for the last 3 weeks. It has been an exciting time. Yeah, it has been an incredible time of enlightenment, and so many of you have reached out to us via email and text message, and you just let us know that you are enjoying the conversation, and you're enjoying, this time together has been enlightening, and that's really what it's all about. And so we're grateful to all of you. Our guests on last week, some of them are actually back on with us this week. I'm looking for Bishop Austin. I think he is on or logging on. And it's just been an incredible time with all of you. If you have the opportunity now, you can share that we're live on the podcast, and they can call in or they can just listen in. If they want to listen in, they can simply go to blogtalkradio.com/Elation Radio. blogtalkradio.com/Elation Radio, and they'll be live with us, listening in and enjoying the show. And if they do have the flyer or the digital flyer, they can look up the number, and it's right there. They can call in. They can share with us. I want to thank all of my friends, some from junior high. I say it every week, and I really mean it. High school, junior high, just longtime friends and associates who are their life is being impacted by these conversations. While I was in ministry on tonight at the service, another young man that I'm very proud of, who is he's a social worker, and he does all that type of work. He has committed to coming on in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be dealing with some social issues and how we can get all of the necessary help that is needed. We've been talking with two financial people who are going to come on and going to share with us a wealth of knowledge on wealth and how to build it and how to maintain it, and how we are, instead of building wealth, some of the pitfalls that we do that kills our dreams of being financial stable, and some of the things that we do. Some things are learned behaviors, and it's time to make some necessary changes, and so that the second half of your life can certainly be better than the first half. And we know God has been faithful to us, and we're grateful. But it's certainly time for many of us to really become more financially conscious, and it just not be just a conversation piece, but it actually be a totally and complete lifestyle. So we're going to be dealing with all of that, with some of the pitfalls of family behaviors when it comes down to money, some things that, we just raised a certain way. And it's really going to be exciting we can get this information and we can apply it to our everyday lives. Now, last week was a doozy of a presentation, and we started dealing with the topic was really why or reasons why our ministry or ministries are not growing. And it was really kind of twofold when we dealt with the growing part. We actually looked at from the ministerial standpoint, and then we looked at from the home standpoint why our families are not growing and showing the signs of being stable. And it really kind of broke off into some areas to where the subtopic came up to really start dealing with the leadership. We started kind of looking at some things where the leadership might be sick. And when when the head is not well, the body can yet function, but the body really will not function at its true opiate. It will only do but so well. And so we started diving into that, and it got really good. And so we said, you know what, we think we need to stay right here because we actually began to deal with suicide. With from the Christian or the spiritual standpoint, the spirit of suicide. And then we looked at some clinical and some practical things with suicide, what causes it, and some of the pitfalls that many of us find ourselves in as leaders, as fathers, as husbands, head of the household, and things of that nature, how issues come about, and before you can get out of one or two problems, you have 3 and 4 already brewing. Never seemingly have an opportunity to breathe before you actually are having to deal with something else. It just becomes overwhelming. And for some of us, as leaders of our family and leaders of the church, we are taught that we should be the symbol of strength, and which we should be, but it's not really taught in balance, because wherein we are the symbol of strength, even those who bear the burden of the strength need to have somewhere, a place where they can pour out of the issues, and then have someone that can pour back into you so that you're not depleted all the time and yet trying to function. You find yourself operating but not really at your best. So we wanted to start right there with the suicide and kind of deal with that aspect a little bit more, and then look at some of the signs or the dangers of when the head is sick, and why when we sick we know we need help, but what causes us not to seek the help, what causes us to just say, I can fix it. What is that? Is it a cultural thing? Is it an ego thing? Is it a pride issue? Is it is it something that we've been taught without being sat down and taught it verbatim, something that we're taught just by our actions? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The lines are open. If you're on here, just give us your name. Hoping Bishop Austin is back on with us. I know Elder Mel is going to try to be on. Hopefully Elder Jay Windsor, who was with us on last week, and Brother Mike, and those that was on last week, hoping you guys are back on and we can start talking about it. So if you're on here, unmute your line. Let's talk about it. Let's dig in, and let's try to come to some conclusions. The line is open. Everybody's not going to be shy tonight, but let's talk about perhaps the struggles of cultural, or should I say, the danger of cultural falsehoods. Let's say it like that. Not that anyone meant to give us bad information. Not that anyone meant to give us wrong information. Sometimes you were given what they knew. But I'll be the first to admit that there are some things that are culturally dangerous to us. Because the reality is we were taught it without proper balance. Growing up, we was taught that men should not cry. Boys don't cry. In fact, we really weren't taught men shouldn't cry. We actually were taught that boys shouldn't cry. I'm not going to let you grow up and be a punk around me because the kid had emotions. Now, I understand there's a huge difference between having a little whiny waterhead boy. Every little thing just messes them up. They can't take anything. They just, that's a little bit different, when you have a kid who's spoiled. And mommy walked around with them on their hip all the time. And, every little thing they were sheltered from. They never really had to deal with anything, any consequences of life. They was always sheltered. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about if a little boy fell and legitimately was hurt. Many of us have seen it. It's happened to us. Somebody run over and pick you right up, tell you that you better not cry. Well, if I just fell down the stairs, I'm probably gonna cry. But if I just hit my head on the wall, I'm probably gonna cry. But we were taught that little boys shouldn't cry. You're becoming a little punk, da-da-da-da-da. And, that thing leads into a place where little boys or young men shut down, and they don't talk about anything that hurts them. Because what is remembered is you shouldn't cry, which also means you shouldn't complain. Then when the young man grows up, gets married, and he's a recluse and doesn't like going to the doctor and all type of crazinesses, and the wife says he won't open up to me. He won't let anything out. He just keeps it all bottled in. Sometimes you need to go back, if you can, and just kind of find out how he was raised. Sometimes, believe it or not, what's taught to us as children, the results of it are manifested as adults. Certain traits and habits. So, and unfortunately, and another side to this, you get that young boy, that young man who was told that you should not let out your emotions and your feelings. You should not let it out. Hold it in. Then you get a male who has bottled up feelings, never let it out. Here's the reality. That thing becomes real big, and unfortunately, some men result into being abusers, short fuses, because there's so much built up within them, and the only thing they know, I'm not supposed to talk about it. They get married. The wife says, well, you can talk to me. Yes, I know. I hear you. But the reality is, if this young man is 30 years old, I think I hear somebody, but after 30 years, 25, 30 years of hearing, you're not supposed to let out your emotions and your feelings. I promise you, it's not just that easy of, you can talk to me about it, because he's been told that he can't. And so you get two sides. You get the side of some become abusers. No excuse, but pent up anger and aggression. Then you get the other side of us who become leaders in our home and leaders in the pulpit, and we take on another level of pressure, and so that we can look like strength. We never talk about the fact that what's bothering us is actually killing us. So talk to me. I hear someone in the background. You want to be a part.
Greetings. I would like to jump in and just make a comment.
Yes.
My name is Alita Canty Lane from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I understand wholeheartedly what it is that you are speaking of, and it is a sad thing that I understand why the lessons were taught to the your boy. Boys don't cry. Pull your own self up by the bootstrap. Get over it. Learn how to deal with it. But it's a hard pill to swallow when life throws you a curveball, and and you really don't know how to, you're crying out for help but don't know how to cry because you're not supposed to shed a tear. You're not supposed to talk about it. You really don't have the sound wisdom that you're looking for in order to be able to overcome that situation. So you make bad decisions, you make bad choices, and you find yourself distant from your family and your loved ones, and your wife is trying to get close and try to understand, but you don't even know how to express it yourself as a male. And it's a hard place. It's a hard place for men to be the head, but yet sometimes you just don't feel like you're the head or don't know what it takes to be a head. And I tell you, it's a hard pill. And then when you go to the church and you find that the pastors and the others are not living a life that you really want to hear what they have to say. You don't want to find yourself in the same boat that they're in. So it's a hard pill. And I take my hat off to men that are trying to do right and trying to hold their head up and trying to be a good example of what it is to be a man. And it's a hard pill. So I appreciate this hard conversation, and I'm hoping to hear some feedback from the men and see how is it that you handle it, and what did you find? Did you go to the barbershop and talk to the people at the barbershop? I mean, how did you handle it? You know, how did you overcome it? So I understand that, and it is a hard place. This is a good topic to talk about.
Excellent. Thank you so much, sis. Don't go too far. Stay with me. I certainly appreciate you. Always good to have your perspective. And I think you said something that was so true. It's a hard pill because the reality is, even when help comes our way, do we even know how to accept the help? Even though there is undoubtedly a need, and you can see the help, and you're crying out for the help, you're drowning, and the mentorship is right there, but there's a concept, and it's really weird when you actually think about it, that in so many ways we were taught not to go for the help, but to be the one to give the help. And the danger in being the one to give the help always and not receive the help is, at some point in time, if you're not replenished, then what are you actually giving out? What are we really giving if everything is drained out of us? And now let's open it up even further. Because I know we've been speaking from the connotation of the male, but this affects women just as much, especially when you're a mother, a single mother, who's doing what she needs to do to provide for the family. And now she's frustrated, and then she messes around and she has boys that are watching her, and watch how this thing circle back to it affects the women. She has boys watching her, and so she starts to remember what was taught to her brothers or her uncles, or and she remembers that message was taught that the boys should be strong and should not carry themselves in a certain way. So now this single mother who's frustrated, annoyed, wanting to be loved outside of the love of her children. Hello. Needing to be loved outside of the love of her children. If you hear some noise in the background, I'm actually driving. Please, thank you for your graciousness. But wanting to be loved, needing to be held, and not just the hug of her little baby at night, but needing a touch of an adult, a conversation with another adult, but yet has to raise these children to be strong, because mama realizes that she can't be with them forever. So it is a vicious cycle. And now mommy is frustrated. Mommy becomes hard because she thinks that in order to teach the boys how to be men, that she has to kind of take on the man role, when the reality is, no, you don't, because mom can't teach the men, mom can't teach the boys how to be men, but mom can teach the boys how to be gentlemen, how they should respect women, how they should carry themselves around women. But just like a father can't teach a girl how to be a woman, it's just impossible. But daddy can teach his daughters how she should carry herself, what to expect from a man. So, with that being said, how do we combat these things? Because I'm telling you, if we do not address them, with the fact that we are having younger parents in abundance, which opens up a whole nother can of worms, and we're still on the same topic. You have younger parents who are now having to deal with the frustration of being a parent, and sometimes they're barely out of the teens themselves. How do we deal with that? Because now these frustrated young people grow up to be the leaders of the next generation, and the only thing they know is survival and not living. All they know is how to survive, but don't really understand the concept of how to live. And this is all in alignment with what we're talking about, because when I talk to fellow leaders and pastors and fathers and preachers, oh God, you have no clue, myself included, have never really been on a real vacation. Never, ever. A real vacation to where there's no calls coming in. Unless it is a real emergency, and I mean like emergency to where you actually have to get on a plane and come back, that type of emergency. But you learn to function. Let's deal with that, because all of those things are underlying issues to why people become frustrated, annoyed, and sometimes overwhelmed to the point to where they want to end their very existence on planet Earth. what do we do? How do we break the vicious cycle of trying to be superheroes when the kryptonite is what we've been taught? How do we break that cycle? Anybody?
Well, Pastor, if I can jump in here, this is Lady Dana. If I could just jump in for a moment and, just share a thought. It goes back to the individual. And we've all, growing up, we've all been raised and taught pretty much the same thing, maybe a different style, but pretty much the same thing, and we do a lot of things based on what we're taught, but as we get older and we learn better, we ought to do better. And there's a saying that says, hurt people. And so with knowing that and, knowing your upbringing, especially if we are now proclaiming to be saved, we have to work on a relationship with Christ. We can't say that we just know him, but we have to have a relationship with him, because in having that relationship with him, he will show us ourselves. And that's one of the hardest things, I believe, that we could ever ask of God, is to show me. Because when he began to show you just who you really are outside of who you believe that you are, he shows you all the ugly that you thought was not there. That's a rough place to be in, because you're like, okay, God, that's not me. But you're saying, show me, and he's showing you who you are. So that's why I said it goes back to the individual, because we truly have to stop at some point, because we can't lead if we can't be taught. The best leader is a follower, because you follow to learn. Once you learn, then you can lead. But if you can't follow, then you can't lead. And we all have to be subject to someone. Even our biggest leaders have someone that they have to answer to. We all answer to God. So we can't lead if we're not taught. And we have to be open as individuals. We have to be open, and sometimes that's hard, because you've been used to doing something for so long a certain way. Not that change is so hard, but you're comfortable in what you're used to, so it's hard to change to do something else.
It's very interesting, because change is hard, but it's only hard because we make it hard. If the truth be told, because like Dana said, it's a matter of comfort, ease of comfort. I'm used to doing this, and I shouldn't have to change. Even though somebody may have to mute their line, but even though I know I need to change, I don't want to change, sometimes even to the detriment of our home. And again, this conversation is not just for Christians or saved people, because we have to be able to deal with men and women who are not saved but still going through the exact same thing. This is actually a very universal problem, a universal concern, and some people will never accept Christ. They're just not going to happen. So we got to be able to address those people and give tools. Here's what I believe. You cannot effectively make change if you're not willing to admit that you need to make a change. That's number one. Secondly, you cannot make change if you're not willing to see that there is a better way. Because a better way can be in front of you. It can be presented to you. But if you are just stuck because you feel that taking advice about something is going to belittle you, then it's going to be hard for you to receive. Let me turn a corner right quick. And while I'm making mention of that, one of the pitfalls that I see for us as leaders, again, this is gender non-specific, so it can carry both. One of the pitfalls that I see is when you become not willing to accept change or the thought of change from the one that you are with. Hear what I'm saying? You will be okay with, let's take the word correction. Can we do that? Take the word correction. You will take you will take the suggestion of a better way of doing from someone that you don't have any real relationship with. But when you hear it from someone who's actually spending time with you and trying to build something, you will reject it to a certain extent. Why? Because we become comfortable with that person, and the truth behind it, they could be the very thing needed for you to be the best you that you could ever be. Are you following what I'm saying? And so what you end up doing is you shut down. Again, because of being comfortable. It's not you can tell me. And even though we don't use those particular words, our actions speak that. Brother Primm, Gary, why are you saying this? Brother Primm, why are you saying this? Because these are issues that come about in relationships with leaders. Watch this. Who is blessed to have a spouse. But somewhere in there, you end up with two people who've been taught coping mechanisms and survival versus how to really live. We've been taught how to cope and how to survive and not really live. But what happens when the coping mechanism that we've been taught and the survival that we've been taught is shut down? It doesn't work no more. What happens then? How do we function? How do we function when what has been taught to us is no longer working for us? This, I believe, There we go. Somebody has a little bit of loud noise. I believe it's right there where some people, leaders, male and female, they start to feel frustrated because what I've been taught isn't working. Once again, the floor is open to any and everybody. Let's talk about it.
I do agree with you, Pastor Primm. I do agree with you and Lady Dana. It is unfortunately reoccurring. It's a generational thing. People try to teach sometimes what they don't know. I know for myself, having children just getting out of high school, and here I'm basically saying a child having a child. And I used to tell my children, I'm teaching you as I learn. And the thing about it, a lot of times people are so stubborn-minded that they're unwilling to learn. And not only are they not willing to learn, they're not willing to teach or share and live what they have learned. Change is really hard for people, having the thought of, I don't know better, or I'm ignorant to that subject, or ignorant to that thing. But it's a frustrating thing. So they try to cope with it or escape from it through other means, whether it's exposing themselves to alcohol or drugs or sex or whatever it is. You know, they get wrapped up and then they kind of tap out. You know what I mean? They just don't even. They kind of drop the ball, because if you think that I'm a mess up, I'm a mess up in life, then I'm just going to do that. I'm going to prove you right. It's an ignorant type of cycle, and I've seen it over and over again. And I'm so thankful for the generation of children, of people, of young adults that are saying it's not about what mom and them did. I'm going to learn the truth, and I'm going to learn what's right, and I'm going to try to do it the right way. And I hear the young generation saying that, they have their own way of thinking, they have their own way of talking. But back in the day, parents were saying, do as I say now as I do kind of mentality. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they didn't even know. They was trying to make it up as they go along. It's a very frustrating situation, especially looking back and looking at others and knowing what I've gone through myself and seeing what other people are going through. And then you look to the elders or you look to the leaders to be a positive example. And like I said, they're making it up as they go along because they never knew the truth. The problem is that we need to find what the truth is in that matter and know that the truth will make us free, that we won't be bound to our stubborn ways or our foolish ways of thinking, but we'll do right, you know what I'm saying, and implement right and live right and be an example of what is good. I'm a mute now, but I really, this is a very, very good subject to speak about because it's time for change. It's time to no longer remain the same, but find what the truth is in that circumstance or in that situation. Find it and live it and share it. Don't be so if I had to learn it, then they're going to have to learn it too. No, tell somebody. If you know it, putting your hand on the stove going to burn you, tell somebody. Don't sit there and watch them burn themselves. Oh, I'm saying. Okay, here I go. I'm muted.
No, you could not be more right. The thing that I've seen is, unfortunately, that very mentality. The mentality of, if I had to learn it, you have to learn it. You're not my responsibility. And of course, the danger in that is someone's life outside of you. Someone's life is actually in danger. And we have, as leaders, we have people's future in our hands. And somebody's going to have to be bold enough to admit, I don't know. I don't know if they say it anymore, but there used to be a saying when I was growing up in school, that there is no such thing as a dumb question except for the question that was never asked. But I would like to add to that. There was no such thing as a dumb question, of course, except for the question that was never asked. And also, no such thing as not being an overcomer except to the ones who don't think that they have something to overcome. It doesn't make you a failure. And now I see why, without questioning, God has given us this type of platform. I see it so very clearly now. There have been people that have been listening to last week's presentation, leaders, and have said to me, man, this is what I've been thinking, but I thought nobody would understand me. Can you imagine a leader feeling like nobody would understand them? They actually began to express that they're going through something. Can you imagine that? That is something that we should really think about. That there are people, you ready for this, right around us who are in roles of leadership that earnestly feel that there is no hope for them. Can you imagine that there are people who really feel that there is no hope for them, that there is no way for them to be the best them, that they have nothing to give. They actually feel like they have tapped out. They have nothing left.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
And I hear what you're saying, and I agree with everything that is being said. That's why I still go back to say that we all have to have, even if it's one person that we can confide in. Everyone needs someone where they can vent, where they can get off just how they feel and not be judged. Everybody needs that. And also, we who call ourselves Christians have to, we should be in such a place to where our spirit of discernment kicks in. And I know it's not going to be that way all the time. You're not just going to, every time someone is going through something, you're just going to automatically know. Because we all go through things, and we are all not always where we should be in Christ. And, let me speak for me. There are times that I go through things, and I am not even in a position to where I could pray for myself. I need someone else to pray for me. And I'll get a message that lets me know that somebody's thinking about me, somebody's praying for me. And that helps to get me through. So I'm not always in a position to where if my sister or my brother is going through something that I know or that I can discern it. That's why I still say it goes back to that individual, because we've all been brought up and raised differently, with some of the same tactics, some of the same things, but still different. But as we get older and we learn better, we must do better, because we're not going to be perfect, but when we could at least work on our relationship, because we can't teach no one else until we are learned. And that's what the problem is. A lot of people there, a lot of leaders who could be good people are out trying to teach something that they have not themselves come to the full knowledge of. And so when they fall or they fail, so they think, then they go to pieces.
I totally agree. As we get ready to wrap up tonight, I totally agree. But this is the reason. One, like you said, it is an individual call. One needs to know that they can have better. I believe that this is one of the reasons that God has graced us with this particular platform, so that people can know from a place of safety that I don't have to try to be a superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to try to be. I can just be human. I can just be me. And then we also have to be accountable to each other.
Yes. And I know you have to wrap things up, but if I could just say this real quickly. The Bible tells us that we are supposed to esteem others higher than ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I see that's a big problem with a lot of us, because it's always me, and never really encouraging our sister or our brother. We are our brother's keeper, and if we can come to that concept, and if we can do that, and we can esteem each other and lift one another, we'll be in a much, much better place. But what I see is it's all about me and me getting to the top.
Well, that's exactly where I was going. There has to be a maturity in all of us to number one, on the personal side, admit that as a head, whether it be the church or of my home, that I have areas that need to be worked on. But then the other side of that is we who are connected to leaders, you need to make it your business to support, undergird, and sometimes literally just affirm that you're doing a good job. No, you're not perfect, but you're doing a fantastic job. We can no longer, let me wrap it down like this. I'm down to my last 30 seconds. We can no longer afford to operate from a place of familiarity to where we don't see the need in affirming our leaders. We can never get to that point that we are just so familiar that we don't see a need to. We deal with them any old kind of way, and then, they know me. Sometimes that can be the very thing that can cause a leader to feel that they are insufficient I'm over my time, and I'm glad we were able to come back to this conversation because the topic was what happens when the head is sick. And I think we hit on some very important issues. How do we deal with it? Let's first be able to notice when the head is sick, but yet not cut the head off. Let's do all that we can to help bring that leader back to their rightful place. Let's affirm one another. Let's not become so familiar. I see it in marriage couples all the time. I see it in church with the pastor been there for so long that you know, there's the level of respect is just gone because we become just so comfortable. Oh, I can't even deal in that tonight because my time is up. But as soon as someone else comes along and looks like they're affirming them, you get in your feelings. Well, they're seeing what you stop seeing because you no longer see them as the head. You see them as equal. And yet, you want them to be perfect according to you. We cannot keep talking about suicide in the pulpit and we're not taking responsibility for not noticing that maybe my pastor just simply needed somebody that could love on him or her, that my spouse didn't just pack up and leave because they were a coward. Maybe I didn't see the fact that they just needed to be heard and loved and not be seen as being weak because that's what they needed in the moment. This Pastor G and Primm, you have spent the last hour and like 5 minutes with us live on Restored Life. Keep your eyes and ears open. We have some great topics coming up in the very near future. Also, we have some merchandise that is being made as we speak. We have hats coming. We have sweatshirts. We have T-shirts. And everything is going to be where you can actually go online and order it. It'll be shipped to you, and you'll be helping us to further the gospel. We have some equipment that we need to get and want because we want our presentation to be top-notch. So we thank you for your support. And you begin hearing from us really soon on how you can monthly, if you would like to partner with us as we help build the kingdom. Elations Radio, our boss lady, Kimmy Kim, we thank you so much for this opportunity. We bless you, woman of God. I'm still looking to try to find a way to get to St. Louis for the Elations Honors. We're going to believe God that somebody's going to pour into us and get us 2 tickets to the Elations Honors. We would love to be there. We thank you guys so much. Let's build a kingdom. Until next Friday at 10 p.m., this is your friend and brother G and Primm on Restored Life, the podcast that deals with real issues. Be blessed. Walk with the King. We out. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.